Greetings, fellow visitors. This is Upgrade Terminal, a Star of Providence fan cast. I'm Malachi.
And I'm Nick. Welcome back to the facility.
Today, we're joined by HorizonSinistre, the Untouchable. Horizon, thanks so much for coming on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, and thanks so much for receiving me here. So I'm called the Untouchable, basically, and I am a big fan of shoot 'em ups and video games that are very difficult. I'm also a programmer, so that's also important because when I play games, I also try to understand how they work.
And I understand you're also a bit of a pixel artist.
Yes, also, I like to. How can I say that? I like to take in everything I see when playing games and trying to reproduce it on a canvas. So it's something that I find very fun to do.
Well, that's excellent.
Yeah, it's great to be with you and to get to speak to you. We've definitely seen your exploits and watched your videos, and it's been very enjoyable.
Thank you very much for the support. It's been very eye-opening to see how I talk with the community and everything after doing all those exploits. I didn't think I will get that far doing all those little challenges.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to what we're doing this week?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So this week I've been making a little game.
Ooh.
So it's mostly schoolwork, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I had to do like 4 gameplay loops.
Mm.
And since I'm game design school, I have to think a lot about what I'm doing with all of that. So it's been a bit. The creative process is a bit hard, but since I'm a solo developer on this little project, I couldn't do a lot. So I had to be. I had to put a little constraints on myself because I had to do it in a week.
Mm.
So the pitch is like you're a motorcycle in purgatory, and you have to get out. That's the pitch.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's a good one.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that you were in game design school. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been. I didn't think I would get in game design school, to be honest, but since I'm kind of good at it, I'm very happy to be in that.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, I'm glad you ended up there then. And just judging by the games I know you like, I'm excited that you're making games.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Nick, what about you? What have you been up to this week?
So, this year, or I should say, in December last year, I was thinking of an idea for a project, and in my head, this idea popped up that was called January of Joy. And the idea was that every day for in January, for as long as I could, not necessarily every day, but as long as I could, I would pick out one song out of the many, many that I know that elicits some kind of joy in me or that makes me feel happy. And I would sort of highlight it and leave a little comment as to why it makes me happy and just sort of share it as I have in my Tumblr and my Blue Sky accounts. And it's been fun to go through some of the catalog of music that I know and to be like, what of all of this makes me feel happy or something related to that, and to just go back, explore, and highlight some of that. And even if I don't do all of January, I don't currently have songs for all of it. It's still like a fun little project, and it's something very spontaneous. I decided to just go in and just do it, and see where it takes me.
Oh, that's
Very
nice.
interesting.
January is a good month to do something like that because it's often dark and cold. Bring a little bit more joy to people.
Well, it was also like, okay, the holidays are over. I have this time, and I still have this creative energy because I was still we were still having trouble making episodes because we just didn't have the time and energy to do it.
Hmm.
But I still wanted to put my creative energy into something. So this very odd solo project is what came out of that.
So do you have days mapped out, or are you
Yes.
thinking of it every day? Oh,
No, I have a few days mapped out. I'm have like 8 songs still planned, and
nice.
I include a
Hmm.
link to them so that people can listen along. And they don't have to feel the same way about the songs that I do, but it's just letting people see what kind of music brings me joy.
Yeah, I want to
Very
check
cool.
this out. I didn't know this.
Yeah,
I,
I think you liked or you saw one or two of the posts I've been making on Blue Sky.
I did, but I didn't know the context,
Well,
And so
now
now
you
that I know
do.
the context, yeah, I'm gonna go back and listen to that. But I love sharing music. I love
Hmm.
listening to songs that people share. Actually, the Discord has a jukebox channel. I like that people post songs there
Hmm.
because, especially if it's someone that listening to music they like is kind of like a snapshot of them as a person in a very
Hmm.
small way, right? Like, oh, why do they like this? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
All right.
Sounds like something I might want to do eventually.
Oh, feel free to steal my idea.
I will credit you.
Fair. So, what about you, Malachi? What have you been up to?
I've been reading a book that I bought a while ago that's been on my bookshelf. Finally excited to be reading it. It's called Babel by R.F. Kuang. And I, when I was in university, I studied translation and interpretation, and I really loved my time there and just learning about translation as an art, as a skill, um, as a career. But what's interesting about translators is they're often a footnote, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially with books. Usually a translator's name isn't even on the cover. We talked a lot about that when I was in school because it's kind of a shame. Translators get short shrift. It's like they do a lot of work. And what I like about this book, Babel, it really focuses on translators, and they're kind of the. Let me read a from the jacket here. It just says it's a historical fantasy epic that grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of language and translation as the dominating tool of the British Empire.
Ah,
Interesting.
I think you told me this because, if I understand this correctly, the name Babel comes from the Tower of Babel, and
Hmm.
Yep.
the translation is an act of treason against the curse inflicted upon them.
Yeah, there's a professor in the book that says translation is an act of rebellion against God, which I thought was the most badass thing that's ever been said about translation. But what's really fascinating about the book is it's an alternate history, but it's a sci-fi history or fantasy history, I guess, where there's a magic in the world that can only be harnessed by translators. And the way they do it is, I don't want to get into specifics, but essentially, if you know the same word in two different languages, you picture both of those words in your mind at the same time. And what you're using, what you're harnessing is the untranslatable. So there's never a direct translation of most words.
Hmm.
Different, there's this gray area between language where you can't actually capture
Hmm.
a
Yeah.
certain phrase. And when a translator pictures that in their mind, that's how they're able to harness the magic of language and manifest it in the real world. It's just such a fascinating concept. So anyway, I've really been enjoying that. I really wish I could send a copy of this book to all my professors, my translation teachers. Um, it's very very cool. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, everyone in this call is bilingual, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we all kind of, to some extent, know what it's like, that in between space between languages, that kind of trying to take a thought that you know in one language and turn it into another, and this kind of middle ground of like, how do you take this idea and reshape it into something else?
yeah. Well, the author, she R.F. Kuang, is also, I think, I don't think she's just bilingual. She knows a lot of languages, but it really comes through in the book, and that's what I think it makes it a more enjoyable read. for someone who has studied translation or who is bilingual, because you get a lot of what the main character is experiencing. So
That's an amazing book. That sounds like something I would want to read.
I think you would really like it. And so, Horizon, we have a lot of questions we want to ask you. We want to know how you became the Untouchable.
I guess we can start by asking, what sort of games did you play when you were growing up?
Oh, that's very interesting because growing up, I was a Nintendo kid.
Mm,
So most of the consoles I have came from Nintendo. Um, the first one I've played was the Nintendo DS,
okay.
Ooh.
and I remember that my first game on it was New Super Mario Bros.
Oh, I have that.
Nice.
It's still it's still a platformer I sometimes come back to because it's super fun and you can see that Nintendo was experimenting with it.
Hmm.
But I was also someone who liked like Zelda games. For example, there is Spirit Tracks on the DS.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I remember a lot because it was something I have a lot of patience for this game because it's very unique with its mechanics. Um, when I played Nintendo DS games, I started to become bored of it, and that's when I was looking into all the drawers and I found a GameCube in them. So it's when I first played with those old games that I realized that older games were harder than recent games, and it was very interesting to me because it was the beginning of a very big adventure with hard games I have.
Yeah. You're like, wait, I like this. Yeah, if you started with Nintendo, Nintendo is known for being, they're targeting their games mainly towards families, children and families, and
Yes.
they don't want to make them too hard.
Yeah, they're meant to be accessible and something that most people can complete. So you have to go look elsewhere if you want something a little bit more challenging.
Well, that's when we're talking about new Nintendo because like old Nintendo made Mario Sunshine,
Hmm.
which isn't a very easy game, let's say.
Oh, I've never even
Um,
heard of it.
Mario Sunshine?
Oh, Mario Sunshine. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. I loved that game actually. I played that
It
on GameCube.
Yeah, it has this balance of being hard and being easy. Like it's one of the few Mario games that really tries to challenge you with how you understand the movements of the character.
Mm-hmm.
So in that same regard, that was one of my first experiences with art games, and
Mm-hmm.
I grew up playing harder and harder games after discovering that because I felt something that I couldn't feel when playing easy games. You see?
Mm-hmm. What is it? What is that feeling? If you can expound on it a little bit.
Oh, it's something like it feels like completion. It feels like you're doing something, and
Mm-hmm.
like you're how can I say like you're slaying at a challenge, like you're climbing a mountain too. And it's something that's I think Bennett Foddy was talking about in Getting Over It because yeah, in this game he also had a lot of points where he said challenges in games aren't like real challenges because they're easy to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I think it's why I'm pulled toward hard challenges in game and why I was pulled when growing up to hard games. It's because I could feel that I was progressing in that game, so it was very motivating for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, for me, from my own experience, it's a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride, and a sense of mastery that the game has put this system in front of you that has a lot of depth to it, and beating challenges is a way that you demonstrate that you know what the system is, how it works, and that you can do whatever you want to do, or there is nothing that the game will put in front of you that you can't overcome.
Yeah, you did say everything I was thinking about when talking about that, and it's it's something that's very interesting because I can't seem to find as much joy playing a game that's more relaxed
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
than playing a game that's very, very tough.
I mean, it can feel boring if you're playing a game that's too easy. You want something that's stimulating, that
Yeah,
really engages you, and like, no, don't just give it to me. Make me work for it. Make me prove that this is something that I can do.
exactly.
So you must love Animal Crossing then, right? Hey, Animal Crossing, the most difficult thing in that is being shackled with debt in a video game as you are in real life.
Uh,
That's true.
so, given that you are, what's the word here? That you have a passion for difficult challenges, what would you say would be the first difficult challenge you completed that really sort of tested you?
Yeah, that gave you that feeling that you were just talking about.
Oh, as in like a challenge that was self-imposed or a challenge that was just on
Uh,
the road?
whichever one you want to talk about.
I might talk about both. So
Okay.
I think the first difficult challenge that I didn't self-impose was completing a game called Trauma Center for the DS.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of this one.
It's a very, very, very difficult game about being a surgeon that can slow down time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And this game doesn't pull its punches. It's very, very hard. You will lose multiple time before completing an operation. And
Mm-hmm.
the thing that's funny is that the devs are very aware of this fact. It's a bit like it's a bit like Ghouls and Ghosts, where the devs know they're making a difficult game, so they are making the most heinous challenges they can come up with.
Yeah.
So completing that game was one of my first challenges. But the first challenge that I self-imposed was completing New Super Mario Bros. Without dying once.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. So that was pretty early on then.
Yeah, I wanted to seek that same feeling I had when completing hard game and put it in a easier game, because it's what's good with easy games that you can self-impose a lot of challenges to make it harder.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
When then it became even more than that, because once I completed that, I asked myself, can I do it without taking damage?
Mm.
And I tried that too. So
Yeah, in my opinion, some games that I enjoy and admire the most are games whose mechanics and systems allow for players to do all kinds of runs and challenges among them, because then you
yeah,
can see players trying to be creative about, well, how can I make this more interesting, how can I keep proving myself further, and the game gives you a place where you can come up with these ideas.
yeah, and that's something I've been seeing with the Star of Providence community.
Mm-hmm.
So where they created challenges to impose to themselves, like for example the all super bosses run.
Mm-hmm. Then there's Monolymp, then there's
Yeah,
speed runs, which you just do it as fast as you can, and there you can go for Exalted, you can go for over 500,000 in score.
and
There's
what
oh, go ahead.
so what's interesting with those challenges is that some of them are also made by the devs, where
Mm-hmm.
the devs were very aware of that someone will try to complete it without getting weapons. When you see the
Mm-hmm.
pea shooter achievement, for example.
Mm-hmm. And also the same with Power Internal, which is win with no upgrades. So of
Yeah.
course, then people started doing winning with no upgrades and no weapons. So yeah, I think we both have an appreciation for games where even if they don't come with a lot of pre-made difficult challenges, they allow players to come up with their own categories of challenges.
Yep.
And speaking of Star of Providence, how did you first come across this game or learn about it? Or maybe at the time it was still called Monolith.
So it was at the time it was still called Monolith, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember that it was in my period where I was playing a lot of roguelikes and a lot of the roguelikes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was searching for something that could challenge a bit my reflexive, challenge changed the way I play games normally. So the first roguelike I've played was Enter the Gungeon, and I asked myself,
Oh.
I do wish something was faster than that. I do wish it was a game that was faster, that was more fun, that has a more difficult patterns. And then I came across Monolith by searching for those bullet hell games,
Mm-hmm.
and I got very interesting in like the trailers it shows. I got into videos to see what Monolith was about,
Mm-hmm.
and I I've seen some boss fights that were very very interesting, and that's what got me into it. I wanted to fight those bosses. I wanted to see the secrets of the facility.
So, what appealed to you, the thing that pulled you in, was the promise of the challenge that it gave you.
Exactly, but there was also the aesthetic and the soundtrack that were very very like interesting to me. It pulled me toward that game, and it's something that I like a lot because the pixelated aesthetic of this game reminded me of other pixelated game I played, which were very hard. So of course I wanted to go toward that game because yes, I the challenge did pull me toward it.
Mm-hmm. I've never thought of that before, but that the graphics in and of themselves can kind of signal that it's a very like a certain kind of game with a certain kind of difficulty. But that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's something that's about user experience with the world
Mm-hmm.
around them, and it almost always retranscribes itself in products we use. So that's
Hmm.
something I got with Monolith.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, now that you have spent a lot of time with the game, what aspects of Star of Providence do you appreciate the most?
That's a very good question because I could cite a lot of those. So
Well, you're
when
in good company then.
yeah, the first aspect of the games that before I tried to do all those six challenges and cool tricks,
Mm-hmm.
um, was I loved exploring the facility and I loved the ambience of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It had a very good ambience and it compelled me to try to explore more and more of the facility while completing hard challenges, while fighting interesting bosses, secret bosses, and the
Mhm.
fact that there were all those secrets made me think there is something behind every door, there is something behind every secret passage, and I had to discover it.
Yeah.
Uh, there is also the gameplay of the game. It's very fast paced, and
Mhm.
it makes you always want to see the next room to get the next upgrade. And the upgrades are also very interesting because they change the way you play the game
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And that's something I liked a lot. It's that the game is allows you to be very creative with how you approach it,
Mhm.
and that's one of my favorite aspects because I can do whatever I want with the rules the game gave me.
Mhm.
I can. It's not like Isaac, where in Isaac, in the beginning of Isaac, you are basically a slave to Aaron Jesus. You don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. You don't know what item is going to make you better. Whereas Star of Providence was made um, in the intent of in an intent that I think was to let the player discover an experience with a lot of things, and it's also unlike Isaac a very very fair game.
Mhm. I think Pure, well, mostly Pure, sometimes Flan and sometimes Alex have talked about what their philosophy of game design is, and they are definitely very aware of things like Isaac and Enter the Gungeon and others in the genre, and they have their own ideas of what a game should be like, and what should fairness look like, what kind of randomness should be present. So I think it's fair to say that their philosophy aligns very well with your own as to what the game should be like.
Hmm.
Do you have any favorite aspects of the game, like favorite boss, favorite weapon, favorite songs, favorite what have you?
Oh, of course. One of my favorite songs might be the song when you fight Overlord, which is a very memorable song. Notably because like it begins very slowly and then you get right into the action, and that's something I like a lot with this song. And my favorite boss might be the boss gauntlet where you fight the warden and then chaos god and then prisoner. That's like the most maybe the most epic moment of the game. You fight three boss. You fight three boss in one big fight, and you can, and every time you tell yourself it can be even more intense than that, and it gets more intense.
Yeah, it does.
That might be my favorite part of Star of Providence. His boss fights are also very, very creative. That's something that I've been looking at and trying to get ideas from that, because by inspiring myself from games from other games, I can try to do my own games.
Mhm.
And seeing how they were creative with the boss fights helped me to be even more creative myself and try to come up with original ideas that were not made in fight. I am pretty sure that T4 Warden is also inspired by Toho with the mechanics of stopping time, and that's also that discovery when the Warden stops time was a very, very intimidating, and at the same time it was exhilarating.
Mhm.
That's something I couldn't find in other games. This game could surprise me at any moment. That was my favorite thing about it.
Yeah, I remember when fighting Warden, and when he starts stopping time, it's like, hey, that's not fair. What is this, Trauma Center for the Nintendo DS?
So, as we alluded to at the start, Horizon the Untouchable got that name because he would start defeating bosses in mild without taking hits and without
Mhm.
using bombs, and
Mhm.
then later trying to do that with full runs. They do take hits, but they're still mild, no bombs and no weapons and none of that. Like, what motivated you to take on these kinds of challenges, and to, like, what's your mentality, or how do you approach such a challenge like this?
Honestly, the first time I did a challenge was that because it was because I was bored, and and I asked myself if the bombs were that essential when fighting a boss, because they were designed without the use of bombs. I think
Mm-hmm.
the bombs are more something you use when you need help, but I don't need help. So I try to uh, when using bombs in itself. The first time I played the game was like using blanks in Enter the Gungeon. I was telling myself it feels a bit like cheating. What if I don't use them?
So bombs are a crutch to you. You're like, get out of here. I don't need these
Yeah.
things. They're weighing me down.
I mean, I would still use a bomb if I am like in critical condition with 1 HP, but only if I have
Mhm.
1 HP. That's when I get into critical condition in the game. That's when I become aware that bombs exist, and that's the funny thing. I don't think of them before that.
Yeah.
See, the difference is for me, because I'm the guy who does speedruns, I'm used to thinking of bombs as this tool that, if I use it strategically, allows me to make encounters even faster or explore the rooms even faster.
Yeah.
And I like this contrast with you. They're like, no, I just forget they exist until I have to remember them.
In fact, it's illogic for me to not use them, but I don't like using them. You see, it's um it's more like trying to to get out of the situation without confronting it. It's a bit it's a bit annoying for me. And there was also something else with the bosses is that I love the attacks and I love the bosses in themselves. So
Mhm.
I wanted to find a way to seek a pattern in how they attack, so that next time I encounter them, I can do it flawlessly. Because that's
Mhm.
something that brings me a lot of joy, to do things perfect and
Mhm.
to flawless a boss fight. So mostly, the reason why I was fighting bosses without bombs is because one day I asked myself, what if I could complete the entirety of the game without using bombs and without taking damage?
Mhm.
And for that, I needed to train on the super bosses, because that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to seek those bosses, do the entire game without taking damage, and seek those bosses. So the fact that I did the boss without using bombs is more like training for that big run I want to do.
Mhm. So really, you just asked yourself the same question that you asked yourself all those years ago with New Super Mario Brothers.
Exactly, that's exactly the thing. And it's I'm starting to see a pattern here. I doesn't like. I don't like.
There's patterns everywhere. It is interesting that thinking about getting to know the boss's patterns. I mean, you really do get to know those bosses in a way that a lot of people don't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you know them so well, you're going to start seeing those patterns in your sleep.
I mean,
The-
every so often, like, one of the players who's been around for a while will show off some technique or some strategy or what have you, and a lot of people will be like, "What? You can do that? The boss works that way?" And it's like, yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
always
like
worked that way.
yeah, that's like what you did with how is called it? How is this boss called? Guardian, I think.
Guardian, yes,
Guardian, yeah.
there's a safe spot that if you stand just below him, a little bit to the left, the first that you can stay completely still, and his first attack will do no damage. All of the bullets will miss you.
I was absolutely bamboozled when I saw that.
Yeah.
Um, it's and a lot of and the reason I'm doing that also is because I want to share my knowledge of those bosses with other people so that I can complete the game with a bit more with how can I say it? In French it's facility but
With
I,
ease, I think is the term.
with ease. Thank you very much. And that's why I've been working on a little Steam guide for the game
Mm-hmm.
right after that because not only I had my own ideas of what the boss attacks were referencing and what they meant,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to show that too. But I also wanted to show the patterns and tell to the player you can do that. That makes it easier than just dodging in every way possible. You can just do that little movement and it's done. It's just like the prisoner boss fight where there is one attack that's very intimidating, but you just have to like tap
Mm-hmm.
the same input for a very short time, and it's very easy to dodge.
I forgot about that Steam guide. We should have mentioned that. But yeah, that is an excellent guide. And I imagine that's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Like, to even more in depth than the wiki, this is just a full-on proper guide, because I have seen this. A lot of newer players, when they see these big bullet patterns, they think, "Oh, I have to do all sorts of crazy movements and go over here and go over there." And it's like, no, 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 no. Move a little bit, then a little bit, and you're fine. Like, the boss looks scary, but the actual path through the bullets is very simple and relatively small if you know the patterns very well.
Yep. Sometimes I see the attacks imprinted into my retinas, and I can forget them.
It's the Tetris effect, but with Star of Providence.
Yeah, your guide will probably help a lot of people quit bombs.
I think the only there are some attacks that I cannot explain because they're just that hard to dodge perfectly. So
Yeah.
one example of this might be one of Monolith attack, where it's his first attack in the third phase or
Yes.
third attack. Yeah, it's a third attack where it shoots a lot of blue spikes within red bullet weight. That's a very hard attack to dodge because you have to dodge diagonally, but you also have to be aware of like red projectiles coming in between the space where you can dodge. So most of the time it's going to be frame perfect dodging. And it's very difficult to explain that to a player because I have to do whole sort of well, I have to use MS Paint to show what I'm referring to.
Yeah, yeah. It's difficult to put it into words. The the subtle movements and all the things you have to keep in your head to dodge it.
So, Horizon, how does it feel to be officially recognized as the Untouchable now?
Honestly, I felt pretty funny. um, it was I didn't feel like I deserved that title because I didn't complete the game without getting hit for the moment.
But you still beat most of the hard bosses in the mirror that way, which already is something that almost nobody had ever done, and definitely not all of them like that.
Yeah, because it's base damage. It takes a long time. That's
you have to
even
be,
more difficult.
you have to be very patient. You have to be like
Yes.
very methodical about it.
Yeah, and I do not have the patience. My thing is, I want to kill everything as fast as possible. I don't have the patience to dodge them like that for that long.
Um, it just feels good
Hmm.
because I know that when I give a tip to someone, it's not a bad tip because I know how the bosses work, and I've been quite recognized as the quote unquote expert about it.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like me and being the fast player, the one who goes fast, and like people kind of think of me as like, oh, I know all of the tips and tricks, and to some extent, I'm like, I don't know as much as you think I do, but I'm flattered you think that of me.
Yep. And I'm
Mm,
just the guy that likes crawlers.
And poetry.
No, I think going forward though, Horizon, when someone's like, "Hey, how do I dodge this boss attack?" People are gonna either ping you or link to your Steam guide. So,
if a new player looks at the guide
mhm.
and tells himself that he understands how it works, I know I did my job right.
Hmm. And I suspect that is exactly what will happen.
I hope so. I still need to refine some of the hard bosses, but once I'm finished with the super bosses, I'm going to explain the normal bosses that the player face,
Hmm.
Mhm.
because that's something that's also a bit overlooked. Is that the more you perform well with a normal boss, the better you're going to be in the next stage, because you'll have more HP, more resources.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
it kind of snowballs in that the better you do at every room and every encounter, the more you have for the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. It carries over.
exactly, yeah.
So Horizon, after so much time playing the game and getting to know the bosses as well as you do you have any constructive criticisms you'd like to make so the game can hopefully improve in the future?
Mm, add a retry button in the mirror, please. um,
Fair, fair.
because well, getting out when you get hit is like trying to do a challenge and you still have 9 HP and you want to get out of the mirror. Well, it's faster to quit the game, go back on the menu, start, then go back on the mirrors and start the boss again than to let yourself get killed by the bullets.
Hmm.
Um, what could be very cool with the mirror is adding maybe a filter option to filter through floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and four bosses, so
Hmm.
that you can find them more easily, maybe.
They're already grouped. The floor one, floor two, floor three, and floor four.
Yeah,
They're
but you do have to scroll a lot to find the one bosses you're looking for.
That's
I'm
fair.
nitpicking here, but it's
That's fine. That's what this is for.
Yeah, you've obviously
uh,
spent a lot of time in the mirror.
yeah. That's why I want the mirror to be like one of the most pleasant experience I want to have with user interface.
Yeah.
So, as you've said, you're still trying to get the untouchable run to beat the entire game without taking a hit and without using bombs. You're well on
Yep.
your way, but you're not quite finished. Do you have any plans or ideas for any other types of challenges or types of runs or things you'd like to do in the game?
Oh yes, of course. So I mean, when I say I want to finish a game without getting shit, I mean like starting with a fresh save.
Hmm.
That's the
Ooh.
hard part. You start with a fresh save and you want to do the whole game without getting hit.
Wow.
Um, that doesn't mean I will go for that does not mean I will go for lowest percent with that run.
Hmm.
So I'll have to
Okay.
think a lot with. I'll have to be very. I have to be very strategic about what upgrades, what weapons I want to unlock during those runs.
Hmm.
Hmm. So you're
Mm,
planning a whole save file for the
that's
game.
exactly. That's yes. That's exact. That's I think that will be more interesting because it's something that I'll have to think about a lot more than just not getting hit and not getting upgrade or weapons.
Wow, okay then. That's ambitious, but I
I,
like
I,
that.
th- I think it's possible. I do think it's possible.
It is definitely theoretically possible, and if anyone can pull it off, it's you.
I'll try to.
The ambidextrous challenge. I hope that one will happen as well.
That's on the list. That's on the
Okay,
list of
good. Yes,
challenges I'm going to do.
swapping from your right to left hand as you go through each room. Yes.
Yeah. I don't have a camera to in my hands, but I might get onto that.
You can wear some cool gloves or something, you know.
Yeah.
And the gloves say Untouchable.
Yeah. Yeah, they're HorizonSinistre official merch. Do you have any hopes or wishes for the future of the game in the community, Horizon?
Yeah, of course. One of the things that was a bit underwhelming for me was that the game isn't very known, and I do hope that with big mods reveal of with big mods trailer of Star Providence, there's going to be more people coming and more people that can how can I say that can teach to and tell them how to slay a challenge that's been on the way for too long. I do hope too that with a bigger community we can do more community-centered challenges. So, for example, what we did talk about sprint or monorail.
It's sprint. It's just sprint.
No,
now.
it's just sprint. Okay. And like I remember doing some races with Nick. With sprint. It was something that was very fun, and I absolutely want to do that with a bigger community, with a whole contest around it. And one of the wish I have for the game is also to get mod support. That's something I'm looking forward to, because it's going to allow for a lot of creativity from the community too.
Yeah, as far as sprint goes, I am still definitely trying to make things happen. I am talking with Ronkley, another member of Sprint, so we can have a Sprint bot which can help automate some casual races and have those, so that it's just easier to set things up. I still want to have casual races occasionally, every so often, just because it's fun, very much so. And I know that myself and another player called Dilex, we have discussed a little bit about coming up with um, types of challenges or creative ideas for it. So all of those things are there. It's just the community is unfortunately still too small to do any big projects right now.
Yep, and that's why I do want to see a bigger community with big mod reveal.
I hope so too.
It's going to allow for much more fun challenges to do between players.
Yeah, I guess we've been talking a lot about your videos and your challenges. Where can people find you? Like what sites or accounts of yours would you like to plug or advertise?
Well, I have quite a lot of things. I mean, the main accounts where people are going to find my videos of me noting bosses is going to be like HorizonSinistre on YouTube. And for the games I make, it's going to be on H.io. And I also have a Twitch channel for some of the. There are some days where we'll maybe stream Star Providence. My schedule is still very much uneven, let's say.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I stream when I stream, and that's all. I don't have a day or anything.
That's totally fine. But yeah, we will link to your Twitch and YouTube and your itch page in the show description.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else you'd like to say or discuss, Horizon? Any particular topics that you feel we haven't touched?
Well, there's something I want to say, in that I want to thank you both for having me here. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking with you two.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been a delight. Thank you so much, Horizon.
And I also want to thank the community of Star Providence for receiving me in first place when I came onto the Discord. because it also motivated me and pushed me towards the challenges of the game and trying to complete it. Enfin, complete them.
Yeah, it's a pretty awesome community.
It's very kind of you.
Horizon, I'm very much looking forward to the games that you're going to create.
Me too. I want to play this motorcycle.
Yeah, please don't hesitate to share them on the Discord.
You know, I'd do that. I think I'll share them.
Thanks so much for listening to our Star of Providence fancast. Big thanks to Garoslav for allowing us to use his music and sound effects.
Be sure to check out all of the Star of Providence soundtracks on Garo's Bandcamp page. The Base King soundtrack, the Relics of the Past soundtrack, and the 5th Anniversary Edition soundtrack.
And thanks again to HorizonSinistre for being on the show. Definitely check out his stuff.
Again, links in the description.
If you have any comments or suggestions for the show, you can reach out to us on Discord. We'll post the server link in the show description as well.
And there you will find fellow pilots to talk with and discuss the show. Thanks for listening. We'll hope you'll join us next time.
This is what you came for, isn't it?
So be it.